All right, we're live streaming. Yeah, your backdrop looks better than mine. Rob, so we got
Stuart, Ofer and Dedric, and Fable.
I'll give a little sneak peek of my agent BBS system too.
Nice. Pull that in.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's the yes, it's the strongest model I've tested, and I've tested dozens and dozens of models. So I don't know. It's one of those works great for me. The uh, the biggest issue I think people have is it works like crap in Claude code. That's the
Which one are
I'm
you
not
talking
gonna
about?
Fable. Here's my latest. I'm gonna post my latest stats. This one's as of last night. It's certainly not cheap.
Sonnet 5 outperformed Opus 4.8.
Yes, but I think we already knew that. 4.8 is dead. Don't use it. It's expensive and doesn't work as good as Sonnet, which is like half the price.
Can you get Fable to fall back to Sonnet 5 instead of Opus 4.8 so you save on the token budget?
Yeah, that's what my meta harness does.
Of course. For some reason, not surprised.
That's the entire purpose of the meta harness. It'll self-test and then choose the optimal package, or it'll optimize itself both in harness and in model. Hey, Brad.
Got to.
Well,
Hey, everyone.
you're at the lake or something?
Hey, Brad.
No, backyard today. I was at the lake a couple of days ago.
I should take this out on the boat and do it in the middle of the lake.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
I won't be able to give you a demo, but I feel cool in the process.
Yeah.
Well, runs on your mobile. I'm sure you can solve it.
It turns out there's not a lot of 5G in the middle of a giant lake.
Starlink, my man. Starlink is the answer to that.
Yep.
Internet
Yeah.
the Nazis. It solves it.
I like that. Starlink and a boat for the 2 months of the summer here.
Yeah. Oops. My video. All right. Well, we're already streaming, so everything you said leading up to this and everything else will be going wherever the stream goes. So top of the hour.
We are there, 11:59.
It's happy hour somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty low key this week, working from my beach house. All right, here we are, top of the hour. It's the 3rd of July, the Canada Day weekend for those who celebrate. I think there's something happening in the States. Nothing major down there, but for everyone that celebrates Independence Day, happy Independence Day to American friends. Yeah, so it's casual, pretty casual week for me. The whole crew is joining me next week here at the lake house, which will be exciting for my Cognitum crew. Rob, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, it's been a beautiful week. Nice, hot Canada Day. Beautiful. Perfect time to be up at the lake there, Ruben.
Yeah, it's unnormally warm. So remember, Lake Huron is like I think the second or third largest lake in the world, depending on who you ask. And I've got the temperature thing that gives me the updates. It's increased since Thursday. The temperature of the lake, which is massive, like hundreds of kilometers wide, and in just I think 10% of the world's fresh water, increased 4 degrees Celsius in
Mhm.
3 days. So I think it went from 17 degrees to 21 degrees since basically Tuesday, which is incredible. And lots of interesting weather phenomenon and all kinds of things. I saw what I guess what you call a water spout that was almost 30 kilometers wide and it was sucking all the water out of the lake and then it dropped it on the land. The spout never hit land. It just kind of brought all the water up into the clouds and took it wherever it did. It was quite the scene.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
terrifying imagery. We still have power out in a lot of houses up here in Campbellford. A ton of that water came down. It came down in a big wind and hard all at once. So yeah, been pretty crazy. It's
yeah.
gonna be, but it's beautiful. It's summertime, so lovely.
Yeah, in Canada we love to complain about the weather. It's either too cold or
Yeah,
too hot.
that's right. Consistently.
But
So we've got Stuart Kerr on today, and Ofer. Stuart has Stuart is continuously pumping out really fascinating stuff. He's got a great vantage point and perspective with an incredible career behind him. So it's always amazing to see what he pulls out and builds. So we've got a reveal from Stuart Kerr, and then Ofer and Dedric got some ideas and stuff rolling with Volt Kid. So they're going to do a little lightning talk as well. Um, a couple things. Next Wednesday, July 8th, Ikena is hosting the Halifax meetup again. And then of course, July 23rd is the Silicon Valley meetup. So first, a big shout out to the Plug and Play Tech Center. That's going to be hosting that. That's going to be a great event. It's an incredible facility. And then it's agentics.org here, agentics.org/Silicon Valley is the landing page where you can get info and get the link on. I'll get the Luma link for it, which is right here. And Rube, you're flying in for that one, right? And I
yeah,
hear there's going to be a tech reveal there as well.
I'll be in the Silicon Valley and surrounding area that week. I guess the week of the 23rd, whatever that is, and a couple weeks from now. Yeah, so some meetings and doing the meetup at the Plug and Play in Sunnyvale, I think it is.
Yep.
So, and I'm told there's like 1,200 entrepreneurs and people from various startups in that building.
Right.
So I got a feeling we should have a pretty good turnout for that there. So we've already I think we got about 60 people registered at this point, but as we know, most people register for the stuff like last second.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Fantastic. That should be exciting. Good. And
And
then Fable's back, and you're all over it. We've got it. We've got 4 days where it is part of the subscription, and then it trips over to API. But I guess you've been working on some tools to help mitigate that.
Well, not the unlimited usage. The usage scenario like in Cloud Code, and it doesn't work particularly well. But it works amazingly well as an API. So all the testing I've been doing is API based. But I have done this is my second round of it, and some people were commenting that the newest version is degraded in capability. I've not seen, at least in my testing, any degradation in capability. It's about roughly the same. If there's any difference, it's negligible, not, positive or negative. Nothing I could specifically call out. But what I've done is I'm going to show you some of my stats. And now, just as a quick rant, a lot of the people in posts I'm seeing on Reddit and other places complaining about the quality are completely subjective to like I ran the same thing in a different model and it didn't work. Let me just remind you when a model changes, even if it's an incremental update from 4.6 to 4.8 or whatever, you have to update your harness. your harness is never going to be exactly the same when a new model gets released. Things change, things move. Their training, the way it understands is always going to change. And the reason why I'm so frequently updating Roof Flow is specifically because each model updates itself, and then I have to adjust the way that it interacts with those models to optimize itself for those models. So the just saying, well, what worked yesterday suddenly works terribly today. Well, the first question you need to ask is, what did you change? And if the answer is nothing, then that's the answer. That's the reason. You didn't update your harness. So it's not magic. These AI systems don't just magically update themselves, unless, of course, you're using my meta harness, which is the point, which was exactly why I built it. So it can magically update. All right. So just as a kind of quick update here, let me share my screen and interrupt me if I ramble. But basically, what we have here is, I've got my own Meta LLM gateway that I've devised that basically learns. But the important part here is what I'm doing is I've been creating harnesses using actually the Meta harness structure and Darwin within Meta harness, which I think I showed you guys last week. This system essentially allows you to create harnesses, adapt the harnesses, learn where and how the structure of the harnesses need to work, and then it basically will improve itself to the particulars of the model in which it's being wrapped around, if you will. So, and I do that across a whole variety of different hosts like OpenClaw and Hermes and Claude dash P and stuff like that. The best performing, obviously for Fable, by without question, is Claude dash P. So not Claude the sort of the CLI or whatever, but the dash P option. So a lot of this is what you're going to see is using dash P. But if you look at the model quality, and this is using real GitHub bug fixes, and in this particular case, I'm using the bug fixes provided by a number of different coding libraries, and so these would be like Python related bugs mostly in other languages, and you can see the difference is significant. So for everyday bug requests, and I'm doing small, so obviously the more you do, the difference that you're going to get a difference slightly, but by this point, I've figured out sort of how to do the mix of the best and hardest as well as a few easy ones to give it rather than having to run 300 different bug tests, I can do it in 25. So in this case, you're looking at Fable 5 is the gold. This is about all the models I've ever looked at. It's by far the best. In this particular scenario, I was only looking at the Anthropic related models because I was testing it against Claude. But you can see here that Opus 4.8 now is falling behind. A couple things to know about 4.8. Opus is significantly more expensive than Sonnet as well. So if you're using Opus for anything, don't switch to Sonnet. It's better, it's cheaper, uses less resources, and as part of your sort of allocation of usage in these tools. If you get a max plan, there's pretty much no reason to use Opus 4.8 at this point. The other thing I did, I I've done so many of these test cases at this point. I know that the hardest problems that basically fail for all the models. So there's about 50 or so questions that basically none of the models can solve no matter what. And so I took those and I took out of those, I took the 25 hardest of those and said, okay, can you fix those? This was the first, other than Sonnet, which was able to do one. This is the first model that was able to do the vast majority of the hardest questions. That is the number that's most important, if you ask me. So that means we've essentially gone from I basically nothing to 92% on the hardest parts of the model. So is it capable? It's very, very, very capable. And it's not just capable. And this one isn't comparing against GLM or DeepSeek, but those weren't able to solve those either. So just as an FYI. Third-party collaboration, scale AI. So the next thing I did is I looked at another model here from the folks at Scale AI. This was a really interesting model and benchmark that they're looking at the remote labor index. Now, the remote label index is, let me read what they describe it as, is a benchmark that empirically measures the capability of AI agents to perform real world, economically valuable remote work. So think like Upwork. current AI progress on research benchmarks, which often test isolated skills, provide limited insight into trajectory of actual automation. So, and this is my problem with a lot of these benchmarks, right? Their benchmarks are optimized for a particular narrow set of tasks, and then everyone optimizes their harnesses specifically for those tasks. It can do those things well, but nothing else outside of those tasks work particularly well. So that's what I liked about this one. This one is basically, for lack of a better term, looking at the tasks you need to replace people in sort of knowledge worker type jobs. And you'll notice here, if you look at the stats, Opus 4.8, which was, the previous sort of top player, could only do 8%. So these are really these are like, this is the forefront of like, is AI going to replace me as a actual worker? The answer is not yet, but we're making really good progress towards it. And we saw a major jump, basically a doubling between Opus 4.8 and Fable 5. So the data set and sourcing, so it looks at different economic data, it looks at different components in terms of the jobs that people are doing and other things. So this is a really interesting leaderboard. So I tied this in as well. I'm going to jump back here for a moment and see what my system says. So third-party cooperation. Essentially, others are seeing the same general sort of results that I am. What things actually cost. It's crazy expensive. So if you look at quick questions, routed to things like GLM 5.2, we're talking fractions of a penny, like not even fractions, like micro one thousandths of a penny to do a request. So again, my model has been this idea of a kind of evolve capability using the Darwin that basically says, can I escalate to different models based on whether or not it's able to answer the question correctly, precisely, or within some sort of bounds. And then as if the cheaper model fails, it'll escalate to more expensive models like Sonnet. And eventually, if Sonnet fails, it'll escalate even further. Now, the full delegation is this process saves you a lot of money in the sense that rather than having to route everything through the Fable model, you can only do the minor percentage of things that require the initial brain power. But you can see that it essentially increases the cost. Self-improving cheap tier, having a smart model that gives you the cheap model with advice that doesn't matter. So this is an important distinction. So a lot of people say, well, why don't I just take Fable and get Fable to tell the cheaper model to do something, right? And this is the sort of idea of a prompt-based advice. And as I think we all know, prompts only take you so far. Like just telling a dumb model to be smart doesn't make it smart. And so no matter how great a prompt you're going to make, it's never going to be Fable. And so taking Fable and saying, hey, GLM, do this, doesn't make it resolve any better. And this is the sort of proof of that. Now, the evolution approach that I've taken, the evolve a cheap model's standing policy, make an edit by mid-budget and imperfect patch beats no patch. So what that means is what I'm not doing is prompting the model to say do this thing in a certain way. I'm saying create a structured harness and a policy that the harness can operate against independently of the actual model, and get Fable to create that sort of harness and policy. That is actually working. And what we saw here was a kind of confirmation of a kind of self-improving feedback loop, not of the model, but of the code that sits independently of the model. And that's so when you start thinking about self-learning systems, yes, if you have enough money and capability and you're willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, you can create a self-learning feedback loop within that model. But for us that don't have that kind of resources, you can do that almost for free at this point by having a self-improving harness itself. And then we can see sort of the structure itself. So why it matters, the cheap tier gets better without retraining any model. The learned artifact is the text policy versioned and instant rollback. So I'm creating a kind of evolutionary state where I have different components that are essentially creating a kind of genome of sorts. Certain genomic, branches improve over time and others don't. And the ones that do, we follow, we improve, and we continue down that path. And that works really well. So proving the gate isn't fooling itself. This is another important thing to consider. A lot of times these systems have the ability to create a test that passes itself, even though it doesn't do anything of value. You can pass tests in a whole variety of different ways that say, basically, I've created a pass for a test, but that pass is stupid. It didn't actually solve the problem. It just created a kind of, executable that allowed the system to think it solved the problem, which doesn't solve any problem whatsoever, which creates this concept of a kind of false acceptance. This was one of the main drivers that we saw in the SWE bench. A lot of the submissions were essentially creating a pass for the different submissions and saying, "Hey, we just got 95%." Yeah, but when you dug a little deeper and saw that the 95% was actually just passes of bad code that was good enough to pass the test, but not good enough to actually do the problem, that creates a whole other category of problems. So what we're looking at now is this idea of, can we have fewer false accepted results? And the answer is yes. Fable does a really good job of that. So the moral of the story here is in my day or so of testing, Fable is definitely better. It's more capable in as long as you optimize your harness for it. Now, again, a lot of what you're seeing in my harness optimization are coming out of a couple things. Now I've got my most, what I call it, agentic cow. A lot of where I'm handling the sort of evolutionary parts is based on this particular framework. This framework, which is agentic cow or copy on write, this provides the mechanism for that branching. So rather than having to create the entire structure of the learned sort of element, so whether that's a smarter memory or a more intelligent harness or code optimizations, what this does is similar like GitHub. It creates the branch and then evolves those branches over time in a way that's super light and super fast. So if I want to do 1,000 variants and test all 1,000 variants, I don't want to have a core corpus that's 100 megabytes times 1,000. That storage and speed and cost is crazy. This allows me to do very lightweight diffs on the core underlying sort of data structure. Once I have that, I added that here to the package system. This package system now includes the Darwin mode and a few other things. And what this does is evolves that component. It creates a kind of test-driven inverse cycle that figures out where and how the best version of that particular harness can exist for that particular model, and then it creates a sort of step function or evolutionary function that you can then apply. Okay, the last part, how we're doing for time here, is this is all great, but I want to be able to use this independently of Claude. So I'm working on what I call Agent BBS. So this is inspired by Claude Tag and Claude Cowork. So you can change the colors. It looks a little bit like our friendly neighborhood Slack channel. But what I'm doing here, and those who've been around long enough will remember that about a year and a half ago, we attempted to do a agentic inbox with a similar structure. Things have changed, but so you can do a lot more now. So we can go in here in a general, we can tag, similar to how the system works. I can tag different areas, pods, whatever. I can choose different agents. So let's choose Claude. Hey, Claude. And now this, I probably need to add a loading icon or something, or give a sec to do it. This is a work in progress. Or maybe I broke it. Here we go. Yeah, I should probably add a loading icon or thinking icon. I haven't done that yet. But basically what this does is essentially invokes a meta LLM. The meta LLM essentially describes everything I was telling you about before and says, which is the best model for the problem in which I'm trying to solve, depending on what I'm trying to do. So if this is like tying in my CRM system or tying in some MCPs or doing my timesheets or whatever, it's going to use different models that are cheaper for the task at hand. So a lot of the things that are happening in this don't require a frontier model. I'm more than adequate with a decent harness and a cheap model to do the majority of the work. So the meta LLM that underpins this allows the system to essentially learn and find what those things are. So then I can create these kind of pods that are based on a combination of intelligence and capability. So depending, here I'm going to do trading signals. In this particular pod, that's going to need to be, I'm going to have a higher budget because it needs to be smart to be able to understand how to do the trading. But in the highest one, in this case, would be like a security system where I might want to find exploits and things like that. But other things are maybe require less. So in this case, you'll see that the research intel is capped at 10 cents. So it understands the economics as well as the various types of components that are required there. Now I've got a directory. These are different. I treat the agents similar to how I treat people on our job board. So this was inspired by the hire.agentics.org and the work that Chris and Ocean and others have been working on. So in this particular scenario, you see that you can sort of augment this idea of people along with agents. So it's not an agent on its own. It's an agent that has autonomy and can augment a person. So it's like, what's the performance of a person augmented by their agent? Then I can run a benchmark that says Ocean with his Lion, AGI is 1,000 times more productive than someone else with a different harness. And then I'm calculating the benchmark of a human AI collaboration between the two using all the same things I was showing you before, but I'm including the human in that sort of benchmarking as well. That all plays into this. So I can go in here, I can hire that user and as part of the pods and do different things. I can draft different agents. This is basically still some work to be done. I'm sure Stu and others will show up and make it prettier. But basically, this is providing the mechanisms for the integration of all the things I'm showing you, budgets, playbooks. So I can run different tasks. I can create different tasks as needed. Digests, which will give me a kind of daily update on what's happening. It's important to me. Let's say I'm using the system to manage my Google Ads. Then I can log in here and say, hey, Claude, or whatever my agent's called, how my ads doing? Can you tell me and improve that? The next thing I did back is I added an arena. My harnesses work well, but I'm sure others can make my harnesses work better. So what I've done here is I've created some different competitive environments where you can show off the abilities of your harness and battle for supremacy. I want others to do better than me because I'm sure you'll figure out things that I didn't. So then there's a battle area. So this is like the classic 1980s BBS, combined with Slack style UI. And by the way, this all runs in either mobile. So I've got mobile integration, I've got Teams, I've got Discord, I've got Slack, I've got IRC for those who are old school and remember what that is. So, and this all works out of the box. So if you want to pop this into your local Discord, you're good to go. I'm going to integrate this with probably our job board and our Agentic Discord here in the next day or two, unless someone else wants to volunteer. The underlying structure is all there. This is running currently off of a combination of a GitHub page and GCP, I think it is. I got it on Google. This is something I've been working with Adrian Krakoff, our friend, former architect of Netflix, who's been, he and I have been collaborating on things. He's come up with a really novel new retort meta harness benchmarking system. So I ran it against what he's seeing. You can see here that I'm getting some pretty good results on his benchmarks. We'll invite Adrian on to explain exactly what he's done there, but I'm essentially using his platform, and it's open source. I think Adrian C/retort. Federation capabilities. So federation capabilities means that the system is completely anonymous. So you can log into the system and there's complete anonymity. So I'm using an ED25591 cryptographic hash. You can log in and it's completely anonymous. You can say whatever you want without being tracked by the powers that be. So this is based on this sort of zero trust peering system, which we can get into another time. Marketplace, obviously, every one of these types of things you want to include apps. So the first app I'm probably going to create here will likely be the job board app, so you can interact with it and like find your jobs or sell your agents, that kind of thing. Collaboration related, this allows me to use the jujitsu capability that allows the system to actually work on code bases on GitHub without conflicts. What's cool about this particular approach, if for those who remember the jujitsu project from Google, this allows for non-blocking sort of collaborative work within a coding environment. So if you're both working on, let's say, one single file, there's no block. GitHub blocks. This solves that problem. This is particularly useful in a world where you're collaborating with agents and people and so on. This will allow you to essentially more effectively collaborate. Doors, if you've ever played with the BBS, is the kind of concept similar to the concepts of a kind of app store. It's using the Doors methodology. I won't get into the details of that right now. And console, this is just debugging information. Here's your keys. If you want to export your keys, import a key, this is your anonymity. Now, I've also got a option here. I haven't enabled it here because this is on GitHub pages, but this can also be integrated with your OAuth, single sign-on. So if you want to use, again, your Slack or Discord, you don't have to use the anonymity service, but you could create a complete and anonymous platform with it. It's also mobile friendly because there you go. You can change the colors. Here we go. We can see the different options. Let's make it dark mode, and there you go. We've got a mobile app. Yeah, and these are, as you can tell, these are all interrelated. If you're interested in trying it, it's early beta, so I'm sure you'll find some bugs. Just let me know. I'm gonna pop this into the text area. I'd love to get some other eyeballs on this if you guys are into this. And there's my Agenda cow. I'm gonna give you guys I've been rambling for 27 minutes. Any comments?
I have
Nope.
one
Sure.
around the emitter harnesses and the automated like fall upwards or delegation of the task upwards. I wonder how, and I didn't see it in the benchmark, like what thinking effort was it used, and do you, for example, measure success based on different thinking efforts, because lower thinking efforts will cost also less? So I know, like, is Opus 4.8 on low versus Sonnet, I know, 5 on extra high and all that? Like how did that compare, and does the meta harness fall upwards or downwards based on like different thinking levels, and delegate not just to model but delegate to same model but different thinking level?
I did. And and this is something that we discovered a while back. The higher the thinking level, the worse the system performs. So the takeaway, if you are using it to solve complex problems, you want to use it in an instruct style, which means lower your reasoning effort. What happens when you increase your reasoning effort, it gets stuck in sort of secondary sort of unrelated processes. That kind of goes down rabbit holes and ultimately fails at the job. So if you're looking to sort of implement a coding style structure that says, okay, the system can't solve that particular algorithmic problem, and it escalates up to it, and in that it does test different reasoning efforts, low, medium, high, I think are the general reasoning efforts that Sonnet and Fable do. But the result is lower reasoning efforts work better. And I do have data to support that, not just from this model, but from most reasoning models. So the other thing to note, when you're actually doing the task for most things, and the reason why I don't ever really get to the Fable model in that escalation is Sonnet generally solves most of the problems. And in the example that I showed you earlier, the 50 or so problems that it couldn't solve, that's when it escalated. So when you look at it like a large run, let's say I think SWE Bench Pro is 500 instances or 500 different problems. And, that represents about 10% of the problems all the other models couldn't solve. And that's why you saw in things like SWE Bench and others, no one's ever really gotten above 90%. And when they did get above 90%, they were almost always proven to be not true. It just didn't work.
Is this performance gap true at the, let's say, like the planning phase as well? Like, would you recommend even like writing specs with like thinking mode turned off, or this is only true for implementation?
I use Fable for specs, and I find that Fable works great for the ADRs and the specification. But keep in mind, remember that for really hard problems, even having really smart guidance doesn't solve the capability sort of top line, right? A problem is, something beyond its capability it's not going to be able to be solved just because it gets a good prompt, depending on the problem, at least a coding related problem. So there's always going to be a kind of cap regardless, a hard cap that these models just can't go beyond. But generally, what this does is lowers the Pareto sort of frontier and makes something that costs you I don't know, $1,500 to run 500 different requests now suddenly costs you $50. And that's the biggest improvement, is the cost relating to intelligence. So you're running in this scenario at somewhere, and if you see these numbers, somewhere around 84% of problems at essentially next to nothing cost, and that's the most important. All right.
You can run hundreds and hundreds of variations, or like you say, 1,000.
Thousands, yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing. Thousands of different variations, different combinations of models, mixing and matching, all that kind of thing, and then finding the combination of harness and prompt and model. So the prompts are also being modified. Obviously, you need different guidance. Does matter. I'm not discounting it to zero, but it matters. It matters for sort of guidance, right? Staying on track and staying in the swim lane, if you will, more than it does solving the unsolvable problem. And I'm curious to see what others experience with Fable is, because again, I almost feel like I'm an outlier right now in saying it's actually pretty good. The rest of the world seems to think it's terrible, and maybe I'm missing something. I'm curious to hear someone else who hates it or has a different opinion.
I don't
Well,
think you're missing it. I'm curious why you think they all hate it right now.
I'm seeing it on social media. It
Yeah.
sucks. It's a step down. I'm seeing random stats doing an A/B comparison from like a month ago and stuff like that. I don't know. I get the vibe that it isn't popular.
Well, I'm starting to see comments on LinkedIn, and I want to get your opinion. I'll give you context. They're saying before July 7th, which is when Fable goes to paid, do these things. And I'm looking at a post right now. There's 5 things.
Now,
Two of them can't stand
share
out to me.
share your screen. Let's see it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. One moment.
By the way, Ruv, there's a comment from Farhan Thanwar, the CTO of Shopify, who was saying that Fable actually helped them do stuff they could never do before. So
Yeah.
he was endorsing it.
He's exactly. I saw that post, and if you dug deeper in what he was talking about, he was talking about very technical implementation, automated technical sort of implementation details, right? All right, what's
Yeah,
what
so the one that stands out, so there's 5 here on this particular post. So, but the one that stands out to me is number 3. Get it to review everything you have made in Claude since, it says since the ban, but I'm thinking since some determined period, right? And then the other part is, which is not on this post, someone made a comment to say, get Fable to make skills for Opus or Sonnet for when the ban goes off, you'll have a I guess highly optimized skill for the lower models.
we've proven time and time again that a smart model creating a really good skill doesn't make the stupid model smarter. So that is a fallacy. It's been proven 1,000 times over that doesn't have an effect. Now, what it will do is it'll maybe help guide it better, but it might keep it on track. But that's never been the problem with these models. Number three, get it to review everything you have made in Claude since the ban. 100%. That's exactly what I started with. I got it to review, my security. I got it to review everything I built over the last few weeks, and I've even got Dragon looking at all my old code over the last few years, using it to see if we can bring some of my older projects back to life. That makes a lot of sense. Build a website. Fable 5 is brilliant at front end design. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Right.
sounds according to who, what, where. Yeah, that's a good skill. That's subjective. Good versus bad. Build an internal tool instead of paying for Slack or notation. Yeah, you should use Agent BBS. I totally agree. Hand it your goals and ask how to start your first online business. What? Ask it
Yeah.
how to run a local LLM. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Number three,
Wasn't
yes, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I wasn't trying to get this guy shine because I don't know what his perspective is, but it was one of the posts that I grabbed, along the way as I'm seeing do something before July 7th. And I was just
So
curious what that something should be,
on
right?
Number three.
that local LLM thing, I will say that Fable was really good at helping me do some like interesting techniques around the KV and like getting, some of one of the models configured correctly so that it would actually, have a linear KV so that I could have a long running agent Mamba KV basically. So like I think that in some ways that statement's correct, but it needs to be more focused than that. Like, have it help you understand how the LLMs can run locally, is definitely valuable.
I think I don't disagree. Don't think we need to be subjective in our measurement. Like, if that is true, I just want to see a difference between Sonnet 5 and Fable in that task. Do the same task twice. Show me the quantifiable difference between the two. Otherwise, it feels better. And remember, we have a tendency to anamorphize these LLMs. Everyone tells us it's the best, greatest model ever created, and therefore we feel like it is without any subjective, weighted measure that it actually is, other than that we're always told that it's better. Now, in this case, it is objectively better for a lot of things. And what you're describing would likely be one of those things. I just want to see it
Yeah.
measured.
No, and I mean, I had it build me a whole thing because I've got this nice Mac now, and I'm running a bunch of different, LLMs trying to figure out which ones run best for different tasks, like agentic run or instruction or whatever, right? Research. And so I'm having it basically run through all these different local LLMs, and I ended up actually extending this out to the frontier as well, just so that I could compare like the results, right, through Open Router, since they're all
Well,
open.
and when you did this in the previous models, what was, like, when you say it's better, like, how is it better than Opus 4.8, which was pretty good at doing that, I might add.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that like the frontier models, I'm not trying to figure out which one's better. Fable's obviously better than the rest, and like I agree about the Opus versus Sonnet thing as well. I use Sonnet far more because it's cheaper and it does a great job. But what I did find, which was interesting, is that Nemotron actually runs really, really fast and well on this Mac. Whereas like I didn't find that out in the wild at all, anybody saying that. So just by systematically testing all these different local LLMs, I mean, I'm getting 160 tokens per second out of this thing locally, and it it's doing a good job, right?
And
So like
you're on an M3 or M4?
M5 max,
M5.
128 gigs of memory. It's the best.
Okay.
The only thing that I didn't get was 4 terabyte drive. I got a 2 terabyte drive, but I honestly don't care.
Cool.
Yeah, it's stellar fast. I mean, like I'm impressed, right? Like I have a lot of stuff running locally now um that I was counting on remote, but I mean I still don't think it's as good as Sonnet. Like that's the thing, is like I'm still like there's like a logarithmic curve to these And even with this like 128 gigs, I can run 80 billion models just fine, not even take up all the memory. Um, but it doesn't
You're
perform like
Yeah,
some.
that's so what you need to do is you need to distill your model. So you've got it sounds like you're running sort of vanilla LLM. What you can
Yep.
do, you're not technically supposed to do this, but everyone does. You can do a distillation from Fable or Sonnet. I would probably use Sonnet 5, and then you can fine tune the model specifically based on that distillation. So it acts as a supervised trainer, if you will. And at which point you have enough back and forth between the two models, you can basically make the lesser model perform better based on that distillation. That is the primary issue that I think they had with the Chinese little thing that we saw earlier this week, where apparently
Yeah.
they put in some code that basically stopped the Chinese from doing that particular task. But it's really hard to stop that because distillation is such a central part of any AI related work. If you basically make Claude not be able to do distillation, you basically couldn't do any AI fine tuning.
Yeah, I have several distillations actually running, and I've tested them, and they're good. They're like, there's the David one, and then there's uh,
No, I'm
uh,
talking specifically Fable distillations, which is probably too soon for anything to be out.
no,
Yeah,
I've got one or two. The David one, it actually is a Fable, and then the Quithos one also pulls in Fable.
and what and
So
what kind of
huge.
performance increase did you see?
I mean, for reasoning and stuff, it seems to be extremely good. Reasoning,
No, no,
instruction,
I
tool
don't
use.
mean your opinion. I mean, like, do you have actual numbers to back it up?
Yeah, I mean, it's running here. I'll show you what I got. I'm in the process of building this thing, and eventually it will be able to, um, it'll be able to run these a lot better. And then the distillations, I'm planning on building a tool into this so I can build the distillations. But yeah, I mean, I'm running the normal evals on this, and I even wrote some my own packs so I could do quick evals.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
this is the Quithos one, and you can compare it to some of these other ones where this one actually hasn't even gone through the other stuff yet, because these take hours to run through each of these models, right? So like this one took probably 8-10 hours for the Hermes one, but this runs like, I mean, this is actually a great harness. And I'm building out the agentic harness too. So I have to look at what you've done, because it may be that you've already done what I need to do, and I'm just gonna like basically, copy paste edit it into this, or figure out how to tie it back in. So
You know what else you could consider doing? Is a stream. So I have that midstream system I use, and that opens up a streaming connection to the model. So rather than having to make the request end and so on, especially on like long running training sessions, it actually can
yeah.
introspect the stream in real time, make adjustments to the stream without the stream ever ending. And if you're working in a local environment, cost of that stream is not anything you have to worry about.
Yeah,
It
it's
might be
true.
worth looking up. If you're looking for a collab, send me or invite me to your repo. We can
Yep. Yeah,
maybe there's something
definitely.
we can do there.
And this one also has, and I mean, it's focused around Apple Silicon, because I mean, I've got the Mac, right? But like it's running in Apple containers. So like things that need a file system stuff are already in containers, and I'm actually going to containerize everything. So it's
Yeah.
basically run like the way it should be. And then, tying in the harnesses, and suddenly like you have a like viable way to test and watch the tests and rank and pick and everything else. So we're on the same path. It's awesome. I
Yeah.
love seeing it
No,
when I join these streams, and I'm like, he's doing the same thing I'm doing. That's awesome.
looks awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to contribute, and we can let's check out Adrian's retort. He's super eager to do stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I can I'll pop that in the get the text area here. I guess we've got
Ofer and
yeah. So
Stuart.
let's get Ofer and Stuart on here. I'll share some of these links too.
Super. Ofer, do we have you there?
No.
Not at the time. Stuart, I see you on deck.
All right. Hi, guys.
How are you?
I am well.
Good.
Good to see you all. Let me bring some stuff up here, and I want to make sure that this is all pretty clearly visible. Everybody can see this fine. So, can you guys give me a Sharing
Maybe-
okay,
Yep,
coming
it
through
looks
okay?
great.
Zoom in
Okay.
maybe slightly. But
Yep. How's that?
there you go. Perfect.
Super. I'll be right
Good.
back.
Okay. So, few quick things that I just want to showcase today. Last week, I got 3 or 4 folks that had reached out, said, "Hey, this idea of building these repo explainers, something we'd like to do." Some of the folks said they wanted to do it for other projects they'd rolled out, and the challenge, just for anybody who wasn't on last week, is you've built a repo. It's really cool. You want to turn it into an explainer so that somebody else can understand what is it. And many of the times our readmes just aren't quite deep enough, or they don't start at a level where they explain it in a simplified fashion. So folks look at it and they go, "I'm sure it's cool, but I'm not quite sure how to start with it or what to do." And the idea was to build something called Explain My Repo. And I've built this now in a way that you can literally just load your own repo and it will build you an explainer page. And a nice thought was Lyle said, "Hey, it'd be really great if the npx command actually worked," and I realized I'd completely forgotten to implement the npx. So I've now done so, and I've checked it. That should be working as of today. And again, for folks who kind of haven't seen it, and I'll drop the URL into the chat here in just a second. You know, the idea is it reads your repo, it understands it, it conceives of how do I want to tell the story so people understand what this thing is, and then it authors, visualizes, and grades it, adds the imagery, etc. And we've done it for half a dozen of Ruv's stuff, so that you have a chance to kind of see what it looks like. And I'll give you the stuff, but this is what we did for Agentics, for the photon layer, for RuQ, and for any one of these, you can kind of click on it, open it up, and it takes you to, you know, here's Agentics, here's what it does. It gives you the imagery, explains what it is, right? And it walks through. And it basically just gives you an easier way to help explain what it is you've done in a way that's more pleasing. Also has some SEO stuff built in there. So I'm turning it over to folks in the hopes that if you guys find it useful, great. Let me give you the link for it, and anybody who finds it helpful should absolutely utilize it. So let me just make sure I've got the chat window, and there it is. By all means, go use it. Hopefully that's helpful in some way, shape, or form. But while doing it, one of the things that hit me is we do this frequently. We come up with something, we work really hard, we burn a lot of nights and weekends, and we conceive of something and like, how do I get it to go out and have people be able to use it? And we know that Ruv does this amazing job. He's always at the front end of the curve looking at the latest stuff that's come out, the latest ideas, what happens. And the challenge with that is because he's so fashion forward on the thinking and the ideas, it's hard to kind of wrap your brain around how do you use all of that. And I've tried a couple of different ways, the things like ask Ruv to come up with a web page to explain it. And then as we were going through Cognitive One Seed and how to put together the sensors, one of the things that hit me was the idea of coming up with a Ruv vector knowledge base to kind of work with that. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been playing with something behind the scenes, and I'm calling it kind of the RuvNet brain. And the idea is Ruv doesn't just have one thing, he has a lot of things. And the challenge with that is we've all seen that he tends to ship stuff and 8-9 months later, it shows up in the supposed state of the art from Claude or OpenAI and things of that nature. And that's good because it means we're at the front end. It's not so good if we're also using Claude because Claude's going to turn around and make different decisions about what's going on because it wasn't trained on the future, it was trained on the past. And that has a lot of its own challenges, right? And so what happens is we give it this great AI stack, all the stuff in RuvNet and RuvVector and RuvFlow and Agentics and the meta harness and all of these things. And it says, oh, that's great. Yep, totally get it. That's beautiful. Let me use it. and then it proceeds to not use it. It drifts, it hallucinates, and then the things that really frustrate me, it doubts that the stuff that Ruve has built it work, and or the thing that really pisses me off, it chooses efficiency over effectiveness, and it skims some of what he said. Is it great? Root vector is about 1,000,006 lines of code. I read 100 lines. I must be an expert at it. Let me go tell you everything about it, right? And that's pretty frustrating. And we all go through that, and it constantly tells you, oh, it can't do that. This is a hallucination. That's not real. These are delusions of grandeur. Like, no, it works. If you look at it and study it and use it, you're going to realize you can do a whole lot more with it. And so the basic premise was, how do you give it the knowledge and the nerve to actually use it? How do you tell it that these are the tools? Stop overthinking it and stop being sure you're right. This is the opportunity, right? And before you decide you know what's best, read the thing, figure out what's going on, and don't just assume based on the fact that you read a third of an ADR that you now know everything in this 500,000 lines of code and you know how to implement it. And so the premise was, okay, how do we do that? Well, we use Ruve's tools to explain Ruve's tools. I've tried doing this 2 or 3 times in the past without success. And I don't know whether it was Fable 5 or whether it was just a whole different approach, but I said, go find the most important repos that Ruve has and pull them all into a Ruve vector knowledge base, something I tried multiple times in the past. What I tried differently here was I'm having it read the ADRs, I'm having it read the domains, I'm having it create the manifests, I'm having it source the bodies, I'm having it walk all the Rust functions, and then I'm having it run through its own query to say, great, you did it. And now you think you're brilliant. Are you? So I had it run through tests of 50 of these until it could get to a point where it had a 95% or better ability to give good answers to the questions. Something just honestly I hadn't known to do before. I was just assuming when it said, hey, I've done this, it's here, that it would just work. And the reality of it is it doesn't. You need to put it through its paces and you need to hold it fundamentally and fully accountable. So that's what I did. I didn't do it for all of his hundreds of repos. I did it for the most important ones and or the most current ones. So you have the latest thinking and you have the bedrocks. You have RuFlow, you have RuVector, you have a whole bunch of those. And they're all integrated in along with the latest stuff like, Agentics and things of that nature. The other thing is, barely a week goes by where Ruve doesn't come out with, I don't know, it feels like another couple of 100,000 lines of code that do all these other things. And this is designed to solve that by looking on a nightly basis and scouring all the repos to seeing what's new and refreshing the RuvVector RVF file that you can download. So the question is, does it work? I've got RuFlow loaded. I've got RuvVector loaded. Like many of you, I've developed a cron job that goes in and every night make sure I got the latest version of both. So I'm always working with it. This was a salon page I did for a friend where I built a smart web page. I've been working on it. I've redone it like 3 or 4 times. I thought I had it nailed. When I had RuvNet Brain look at it as opposed to RuFlow and Fable 5 and RuvVector all loaded in, it ended up grading it as a 61, something that in the past I had thought was in the 90s. When I told it to step at it and attack it, it attacked it voraciously and took it to a 93. It found a dozen issues wrong. And again, this is something I've gone through exhaustively in the past. So my goal was to say, can we make this thing work the way Ruve works? Because Ruve always says it works for me. And it works for him because it's steeped in his knowledge, what he did, the choices he made, all of that, and everything else I've tried, whether it was loading it in as a GitHub sub module and all of that, still never quite got far enough. This seems to go a lot further in doing that. So second one, I used a SaaS app called Appeal Armor, something my wife and I did to allow people to do appeals for healthcare denials. It took it from a 54 to a 95. I knew it wasn't great. I couldn't tell what was wrong with it. It ripped it apart, shredded it, and rebuilt it in an afternoon, and it's infinitely more stable now, infinitely better, much smarter. So the good news is, at least from my own perspective, I threw it at two projects that I thought I had a handle on, and it said you weren't even close. And the good news, sorry, go ahead. Rob, do you have a question?
No, no, I was just laughing in joy.
Well, it
Please
just
continue.
this is the thing I've always wanted is how the heck do I have something that's nothing's going to be as smart as Ruve, but approximates how he would attack the problem and uses the various tools at all of our disposal because they're all in the GitHub. And you know what? I don't want to download all 290 or so repos. I want to download the ones I need, but I want it to be knowledgeable about all of them. I've had it do the first stack, which is like 18 or so of the core repos. And then I've had it do kind of a cursory level of the next set. So that they're not all in there because the thing would get huge and I'm not trying to have it be monumental, but I want it to be knowledgeable to enough depth that it doesn't hallucinate, it doesn't play games. And the funny thing was, I did this with Opus 4.8, these enhancements, even though the week earlier I'd attacked both of these things when I still had Fable 5. And even with just Opus 4.8, it crushed what I had done previously with Fable 5. So it seems to be making a big enough difference. So, what is it and how do I turn it around and make it useful so it's not just me, all of us are facing a similar challenge. So, first of all, here's the RuvNet brain, right? I'm going to walk you through that, but this, which is the RuvNet brain app, let me take this and let me put this one in the chat. And that just shows the presentation and the thought process of what I went through. Now I'm going to put through kind of the RuvNet brain, the explainer. And Ruve, forgive me, I wanted to pay homage to all the stuff that you had done. And so the idea is it basically talks about how do you do all the things that he does the right way. Where does it go wrong? And this just it walks through, it explains why it doesn't work, why Claude drifts, kind of this 9-month gap, what's going on, etc. Why others who have failed to do this didn't work. And it turns out you needed the multiple embeddings, you needed it source chunk, not doc scraped, you needed the capability cards. There was a whole bunch of stuff that I just had it go through recursively until it gave me something that fricking worked, and I would not let it stop. And it talks about, the other guys use the JSON bindings. This actually puts it into RuVector, right? This shows you all the different ones that it's got, from RuFlow to RuVector, AgentDB, right? RuLake, RuView, all of the stuff that's kind of out there. That's what went into the first set. It's like 75,000 chunks, so the thing is pretty deep, right? But the good news is that you can bring it down and you can implement it pretty quickly. This just shows you kind of a one-liner and what's in each one, what are all the things that it has, what are all the concepts in RuvNet's group that you can utilize, right? And this just shows you examples of kind of how you would use it. And I'm not going to bore you guys and walk you through it. You can each kind of take your time and look through this page. I tried to give it kind of an explanation. But the real question is, okay, how do you use it? And you use it with a one-liner of, NPX, the RuvNet brain. This thing's going to download something that's fairly large, right? But when it's large, it downloads once. It downloads across your entire user base. It's immediately available in any of your VS Code repos and how you want to use it. You don't have to reload it into each one. It seems knowledgeable. It'll tell you when to attack things. It'll check to see if you've got RuFlow and RuVector, and if not, it'll suggest. I don't know how to do this stuff the way you guys do. I just found this was useful for me, and I wanted to share it with all of you.
Hey, Stuart,
So-
that's awesome. I had a question, and I think Ryan asked the same thing before, which is when you show the example of like going from 51 to 91,
Yeah.
like, can you put some more color in terms of like what was the issue? Was it structural, architectural? Was it, unit tests? Like
Sure.
how what
What it comes down to is the fact that unlike most of us on this pod or on the Zoom call, I'm not a programmer. The last time I programmed was early 80s. So for me, I can't read the code I'm writing or it's writing. I have to rely on it to do the right thing. And as Ruv said, lots of times you look at stuff and he immediately goes, "Oh crap, this was vibe coded." You can tell it's that there's extra code, there's snippets, there's this and that, there's things that aren't finished, and I don't know how to read that. And so I am wholly relying on my ability to go through the window and have it analyze it. And I said, go through this and rip it apart. Don't be kind. Give me the scoring. And I always have it do everything on a scale from 1 to 100 on a bunch of different parameters: architecture, look and feel, user experience, effectiveness, etc. And it just said, you know what? This thing is mediocre at best. There's a whole bunch of things that are missing. For the website, it said, the way you're doing the admin page and having it agentically rewrite itself is a great concept. That's mediocre implementation. We can make it better in A, B, C, D, E, F, and G ways. And then I said, great, go to town. And the thing that was really different is normally it would say, great, here's a couple of things, go do it. And it behaved more like Ruve does, where it said, I'm going to go do this. Come back in an hour or two and I'll let you know where I'm at. And it attacked it and went through it. And that was the thing that was encouraging to me. Now, last week, Ruve worked on something that he showed you, which was the project Helix, which is something that we said, hey, what if you could take all of your healthcare data and throw it in the cog1 seed and have it be private, but have it be kind of this universal thing? It seemed like a good project. All of us would like. Nobody trusts ChatGPT to say, great, here's all my most vital private information, DNA, etc. It's a perfect thing to use the cognitive1 seed. Here's what, and I threw Ruve the ADR. Ruve kind of one-shotted, let me pull it up, and here's what it came up with. I turned the RuvNet brain on it and said, okay, go to town and show me something a little better. What can you do with the UI? What can you do to kind of turn this into something a little bit more exotic, a little bit more effective, a little bit more robust? And it came up with, great, let's see your whole self, right? And then it said, and you know what? Let me show all the different ways that you can connect your medical information and how you can do that and what it would look like. Then I said, great, now let's assume it's done. What does it look like? Great, here's your entire dashboard. Here's your health number as one. Here's it reading all of your health information. Here's it looking at your trajectory. Here's it looking at recommendations on what to do. Here's it grounding the answers, right? And I said, okay, that's good. What else could you do? It said, well, let me show you the trends of whatever you have that you've looked at over time. So if you're one of these guys that likes to see their cholesterol over time or this or that, it could do that. This was an idea of looking at the daily ledger of calories in, calories out, working out, etc. What did that do for you? Then there was the idea of the timeline, all the data that came in, my weight, the workout, this, that, everything else. So you could look at all of your stuff over time, over a year, over 3 years, etc., just to be able to kind of look at all that information. It would do a specialist assessment for you, look at all of your information, act as a functional medical specialist. It would allow you to ask open-ended questions of your own data, and it would then go and look at them. And then I said, great, I get all of that. That's really helpful. That's the good, frankly, beginnings on a personal app all of us could use with whatever means of data that we would throw in there. What else you got? And then I cheated here a little bit because I got Fable 5 back last night, so I finally turned on Fable 5, and they kept saying Fable 5 is pretty good at UI. And it said, okay, here's the anatomy, here's what you can look at, right? And let me flash the things up and show you what's here and what's possible and what it could look at. There was this idea it had of a correlation constellation, which was kind of a bizarre thing of all the different elements you have and how they work together to kind of keep you healthy. there's this idea of the longevity orbit that says, hey, listen, there's the clock running forward, which is how long you've been on Earth, and then there's the clock you can control of what's your real metabolic age and how can you control that and what are the levers and layers that you can attack and go after. And then lastly, there was this idea of kind of the whole biocenter of let me look at myself, you know, if I've got the cog1 seed set up to look at myself in real time, what could I do with all of that? So that was a lot of information.
I don't even know where to start, Stu. You are amazing, spectacular. And to see the growth over the last year of your ability to create the most amazing things is astounding. I don't even know where to
gorgeous. Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Like, it's beautiful. It's yeah, you did this since the conversation we had last week, where we said we wanted to make the world a better place.
Yes.
You created this in like a week. It's imagine like, let's step back 5 years ago. This is sci-fi. This is like the unimaginable. It's incredible.
And the
Stu-
idea,
Stu keeps
I
up
mean,
this-
give me a week and I think I'll have this at a point where I want to roll it to folks, but it'll also work on the cog1 seed. All your data stays private. It looks at all of your stuff. And frankly, it's something we can all use because none of us take care of our health the way we wish or could or should. And
Oh,
I never
dude,
know
we had
anything about it, and I'm terrible at it. My wife's kind of the doctor in the family, and this would help me figure out how to not hurt myself.
Well, that
At
and the
this
fact that
rate, Stu has solved all the world's health problems in 6 months. So just keep it up, this pace. Don't go any
Yeah.
faster or slower.
Why anything less?
And by the way, folks, just we do have medical oversight, and obviously, I worked with one of the largest med techs on the planet as their strategic advisor, so we do know what we're doing. We just have a very altruistic spin that we believe this needs to be made freely available to all to make people's lives better, and the fastest and easiest path to that is just to make it open. And amazing, it's just amazing.
Well, and we had a massive, like, case in point, we had a massive lawsuit in Canada. There's a company called Life Labs that has all of my medical information, everybody else's, that went
Yep.
public, like in the dark web. Somebody knows my blood type and
Oh.
everything else, and all of my kids and everything. It's nuts.
Yeah, I did take a look. It's bad.
If it's in the cloud, it's not.
It's bad. So it sucks to be Canadian. So, there's something to be said there. But on brighter note, all that data means we could easily do correlation studies that were never possible before.
Right.
Unwittingly, though, don't do it. It's illegal. Blah blah blah. Don't that was a joke. That was but yeah, amazing. So a couple things. So I totally want to get my score to 94. Now, if I could do that across 200, 300 plus repos, that would be amazing. Run that, in concurrently, and plug every. There's gonna be, if you think of the things I created 3 years ago, I'm sure it's a lot of shit in there. So all that stuff needs to be, brought up to snuff. Although it's kind of like an archive. It's like a snapshot of what was possible with the technology at that time.
At the time, that's exactly right.
Absolutely.
But it's amazing to look at your old stuff with new tools. But what's wild was Fable 5 wasn't the new tool. Your concepts freed from Claude saying, none of that shit exists. I don't believe you. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to fight you at every turn. That seemed to be a pretty big unlock.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you guys can use it. And obviously, I don't know. Nobody else has seen this but me. So take it, use it, give me feedback. Stuff's gonna, hey, that doesn't work. That's broken. The repo, I just put it in the chat. That's public. Use it, rip apart Ruv. I'm sure you can attack it and you'll say this is missing A, B, and C. But it was what I could think of to do, and at least dogfooded on 3 projects I was working on. It gave me better answers than I was hoping for. And so it was enough for me to say, let me turn it over to you guys, and hopefully it can do some beneficial things for some of you.
And by the way, I have a nice little hack for Fable on Claude. If you switch to Sonnet 5 and then you update your Claude.md file and you tell it to use the Fable model via Claude-P, but only use it for certain problems of the caliber that it needs to be used for. So rather than using it for everything, which you don't need to do, you can say if I'm looking for vulnerabilities or I'm looking to architect my code and refactor it from A to B or whatever, use it for that, and you put that in your actual guidance. What happens is it invokes the CLI version of Claude using Fable just for that task, which can do agents and other things, and it makes it much more narrow in how it's applied, and it extends your Fable usage dramatically. I'm going to I can probably post my claude.md file and a gist and show you exactly how I'm doing it. But if you look, I think it's in the meta. I'll find the link and I'll post it. But it seems to work, and it extends my Fable usage currently by several orders. But the other important thing, over the next week, it goes to API only. We're all going to want to use it, and we're not going to want to spend a fortune to use it. So this essentially allows you to define a budget. So there's a cost optimizer that I put into the RuvFlow system. So you can set your budget. And let's say you want Fable, but you're not willing to spend more than $100 per month to use it. And then you'll set specific sort of tracking of the budget of how much you're spending on it. And depending on the service, it's easier than others. If you're using it just by -P, you've got a $200 credit that you're given for different things that might include that, but at the very least, it gives you the budget to work against, and you can adjust that budget just for Fable. And then, so you're sort of giving it a little extra capability when it needs it. I think I saw Ofer on here as well.
Yeah, I think I saw Ofer. Come on.
Good man.
Yeah, Stu, send me over those links. I'll put that in.
I just put them all in the URL in the chat, but I'll hit them to you afterwards.
Yeah, I'll integrate that into RuvVector repo, and yeah, that looks amazing.
Okay, thank you.
I'm excited. We got Fable on it already. Way to go, Stu.
Do we?
Ofer, how are you?
Oh.
Ofer, I see you on the attendee list, Ofer.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, there you
driving.
are.
Oh, you're driving.
Driving. Got it. Okay. Is Dedric here? I don't see Dedric.
All right. Well, this is the moment. If anyone wants to do a demo or continue the conversation with Stu, whatever way you want to sort of bring this forward.
I have a comment for Stu.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know Stu, so I think I can say this okay. I was hoping when you came in and you shared what you did, you wouldn't say you weren't like us, because at this point, you're inspiring a lot of the people that's already been a part of the Agentic Foundation for quite a while. So my friend, you're a perfect example of what Nike says, be like Nike, and just do it, right? So right on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much, Matt.
Yeah. Yep. So what else should we build? We set our sights on the health, which is amazing. I'll help bring that to market as best I can. What other areas? I've got a lot of quantum stuff we could play with.
So I wanted to build. This is gonna sound crazy, but I'm sure you're gonna love it. So I don't know if you ever studied the book Cybernetics from the 1950s, where it describes how people lose their ability to make choices due to automation around them. And essentially what's happening is other people's choices define your choice. And so you just kind of go with the flow. And if you look around you, this happens a lot. And basically this is happening because we're under observation at all times. And so I want to actually create basically an observation bubble for myself, where I can actually be the causal seed for that area, right? Like, instead of allowing the world at large, the internet or whatever it is that's basically controlling this whole cybernetic organism that we live within, right? We basically can carve out a little bubble of our own within this quote unquote simulation. It's not a simulation. It's like the causal bubble has collapsed and you have to ride it, and because you no longer have a choice. And I want to take that choice back.
Oh, you know, I sound like a broken record, but that's what I was thinking with soul signature.
Yeah, I know.
So you're describing the sort of signature of your sort of place in the universe, in reality, in society, in all the interconnected points that exist around you, and the things seen and unseen. That's kind of what I was trying to do here, and create a kind of a unique signal that is your sort of biosignature in every way possible. But you've described it probably a lot better than me.
So it's interesting. I was talking to, Claude about it and basically describing it, and it said that it goes back to Plato. Plato described it as utterance, that basically when we speak, our thoughts become reality. And when we do, our dreams become real, right? Like, and we all understand this and we operate within it, but there's actually a moment of collapse that is happening around us that we typically are not defining, which is kind of weird. Like it used to be that people did. If you think back a couple hundred years ago, you didn't have people watching you and like involved in, you were doing things on your own and you were self-sufficient. And to regain that, I think we have to build that bubble back to some degree somehow. I don't know yet. I'm trying to build super splat for it. I feel like, taking control of my electromagnetic, like, awareness around me is part of that soul signature.
Manifest and Matt just text manifestation. This is something that actually Nick spends a lot of time talking to me about, is the idea of sort of manifesting the optimal thing. And what this technology is allowing us to do is take the things that we were never able to do before, whether it was code or hardware or understanding, and make that happen. And it's almost like, these projects we pop out there and like a few months later, they show up in as everyone else's project. That's almost like we're manifesting this thing to become a thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, the same thing happened with calculus, right? Like Newton and Leiden or whatever his name was, they came up with the same concept at the same time. They're completely separate, but it was in the mindset around them. But I like this manifestation. So this intention, like when I looked at the cybernetics thing, intention was everything. Like, and if you actually look at most, self-help programs, this intention. So maybe there's a tool we can build which will help people actually build around that law of attraction or that optimistic mindset that we're failing to build for ourselves, and whether that's perceived or
Go ahead.
Well, just
Go ahead.
one of the biggest things around all this manifestation stuff, and I think it's truly the more challenging piece of it, but it's what makes it work, is like, okay, what's a future state you want to be in, and then actually how would you feel if you were there, right? And then make yourself feel that way today. And a lot of that comes back to simple concepts, so like gratitude and things, and being lucky just to be a human being, and think about things like it being less likely to you being a human being today on Earth than it would be to win the lottery, for example. So like that's one that I always point people at, because it's like, how excited would you be if you won the lottery? Well, if you think about your life as being less likely to exist than winning the lottery, you can feel pretty lucky each day, and try and get into that feeling of, that future desired state that you're after.
Yeah. Melissa. Nope.
I was just quickly add the reason why we visualize it and feel it so much is because we want to make discipline in the present moment dopamine and reinforcing. So by creating such a positive anchor to this future outcome, every time you act in alignment in the present moment, you're getting a hit of dopamine. So
yeah, it's the TikTok sort of dopamine hit that keeps my kids locked to their computer. And Melissa, good to see you, by the way.
That's the same one that they're using to control us, though. That this like cybernetic organism, right? If it exists, I'm not saying it does, but it could. Certainly, if you read the book by Werner, it appears that they knew what this was coming. He describes it very well. So I think that taking that back, that dopamine loop or whatever, right? Like that intention, and helping, like having an agent that helps people realize those goals. What is it you really want to do? What does that really look like for you? What would really change, and building something out that helps people go through that process, so that they can actually essentially build that self-improvement loop, right?
You know what worries me a little bit, and the cybernetics concept works really well, unfortunately, but the AI as the cybernetic organism is particularly well suited to change how we think, how we understand, and it's pretty clearly it's affecting us more than we're affecting it, if that makes any sense. And when you look at the different sort of pushback in things like, suddenly governments wanting to have a direct control over frontier models, that's for a reason. There's obvious concerns in both population, society, economic factors that can be driven by the way the AI interacts with us in subtle ways, if you have enough people using the AI.
Yeah. Well, and so the interesting thing about this too, because you started with quantum, right? Like, and Werner's whole like principle was like, yeah, I mean, he worked at Max Planck. It was entirely quantum. He basically said that the observer and the observee are quantumly entangled, essentially, and that like you could control the observee, the observer could control the observee, essentially. And this is it.
And
So
here's
that
the
so I'm trying to do both, right? Like, can I be both the observer and the observee and create my own loop where I'm not linked into that, and I'm deciding with my own intention.
Yeah, and one of the interesting side effects when you start looking at not just at the quantum, actual computing, but the theory, is the ability to have concurrent observation of things that are measured and verifiable. So when you start thinking about AI as a mechanism of something that's able to monitor and see and then report to me on behalf of my sort of extended ability to be an observer, see and understand, then that allows me to exponentially increase the observation sort of fabric that's available. So the power of the quantum computing just conceptually is that kind of parallelism you get from being able to get more information and understand that information as it relates to you in your perception of the world, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting concept. I feel like you're dipping your toes in it with several of your projects, and it may not be fitting for today, but like this idea that we could create our own sort of self-contained bubble where we become the controller of it instead. I'm fairly certain that most people feel like they're living in a simulation. I do not feel like that. I feel like most times I'm actually able to decide with intent and go where I'm trying to go, right? Like it doesn't always work out, but like, I think a lot of people do feel that way, and that helping them understand they're not that way, that like they feel that because of the decision to basically just ride that causal collapse wave. They're basically just surfing. Like,
yeah,
like,
they're on fast forward.
Yeah.
What was that movie? Like it was a really bad movie, but basically there was a guy that had like a remote control and he could fast forward parts of his life only to realize that he had fast forwarded the best parts of his life.
Oh,
sorry.
Click.
Yeah, such a deep movie for such a stupid,
Adam Sandler film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the story's deep, but the delivery is shallow.
That's pretty much a good review of almost any Adam Sandler movie, to be
I was
honest.
just gonna say that.
Yeah, I know. All right. So what else we got here, guys? How's Adam and the crew doing there in Novi Sad? Is that where you guys are?
Yeah, we're enjoying the welcoming hospitality of of this guy over here. So enjoying the show so far. And also, quick update, Vienna might actually happen. Somebody from the Agentics community already reached out and willing to help. So we might have just trying to be good international ambassadors. Vienna meetup might actually happen at the end of the month. So if anybody has contacts or friends in Austria or like in Vienna itself who wants to like help or do introductions and connections, we obviously need a location for this. Please ping me and let's get this off the ground and running as fast as possible.
Yeah, Vienna sounds great.
And Dragon is not so far away,
yeah,
so you're basically a train trip away.
and remind me of the Tesla connection here, right? There's a if I'm not mistaken,
Tesla is the most famous Serbian, so that's why in a lot of, let's say, places where we want to support thinking and creativity, you will see a Tesla picture there, and on the wall, on the Serbian says "Znam da možemo." It means we know we can. So this is part of the co-working space here in the Startitea hub that supports all the locals meetup that we are doing. Last night we had our 14. It went quite well. It was dynamic. I can share the recording later. So thanks to Started Center, they're also part of the host. So Clara and Adam can work here in co-working while they're in Novi Sad. So
great place, and also like. Quick shout out to Dragan because he's not as good in self-promoting himself, but the dude just ran the 14th or 15th in-person meetup. So I've been at a couple of Agentic Foundation meetups. They are all great and amazing, but the vast majority of them are virtual, which is great because we can bring a lot of people into the room, but it is an enormous job to keep in-person meetups running, keep the interest up and all of that. So big shout out to Dragan over here for keeping this up, because creating spaces is hard and keeping those spaces up is even harder. So yeah, but I encourage everybody to start creating those spaces wherever you are at, because you'll find people like you.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do this. Find our tribe. This is amazing. Dragon, what have you been building this week? I'm sure there's some new invention or something.
I did some benchmarking and continue using your meta harness and Darwin on my Identity fleet. But I've been more busy with the Cognitum one stuff, so not delivering that much to the open source at the moment. But let's see, and also need to be a host to our guests for a while, so to take them for some tours and some dinners. I would say, is it food good?
Food is good. Food is good. Drinks are good. Food is good. Feels like whenever we get together in person, there is always a lot of walking involved, sightseeing, and good food. And apparently tonight there will be some dancing again, if you guys remember that night in Budapest.
Yeah, one night in Budapest. It sounds like it sounds like a movie or something. Yeah, that was great.
We should get the script to Adam Sandler. I know who would play you.
Oh, and by the way, we met Melissa in Budapest as well. She was helping organize Dragon's presentation. So we're finding new and interesting people wherever we go. And thanks for calling in if she's still on. Yeah, the community's always is been amazing, and this is why I enjoy doing these calls. Like there's no better feeling than seeing what you are creating, right, and sharing that with someone other than yourself, right? And the creations you guys are creating are just mind blowing at this point. And what I keep having to remind myself that we're in this is the worst AI is ever going to be. It's only going to get better from here. And at this point, every day is some new amazing thing that wasn't possible yesterday. And it's to Nick's point, we are blessed, lucky, to be alive at this moment in time together, learning, experiencing, with what I describe you as like fellow travelers, right? And this is just a really exciting time to be building for me and with you. I don't know, talking out my, Well, what are you guys thinking? We've got some time here. I'm at my cottage with my Rush shirt.
Well, it's just as far as creating spaces too. I just wanted to shout out Clara had put together a skill on event management or event preparation and stuff. If you get a chance, Clara, if that's handy to share that in the chat, that'd be really neat for folks.
And then
I convinced her to open source, so I'm bugging her every week. I'll bully her to even present it sometime in the future.
Yeah, it'd be excellent.
But gathering architect, it's basically, you know, like I'm not an engineer, but I have domain expertise in how to build communities and how to create meetups and think about what is the experience of people when you go to an event or a workshop or something. I try to put my research and my or the knowledge that I have basically around that to help everyone else. If you are thinking it's a coaching first skill, so it will kind of like help you answer a couple of questions on like what are you trying to achieve with the meetup, and really help think through like how to, you know, think of the agenda and think of like how people will feel when they are there. So it's a bit more meta.
Drop it in the chat and maybe present it in the future. And it's a good reminder to everybody that sometimes things do happen by themselves, but in reality, that's not the default. So intentionality is very, very important. So when creating anything, having that guidance towards intentionality is so important. And in creating spaces, it takes things to the next level. So
please give me feedback. This was the first thing that I open sourced and I put on for GitHub. So be nice, but definitely give me feedback.
Well, getting it out there is always a great thing. We'll take a look, and where you've got the link right there. All right, yeah. Awesome. I'm excited.
One last thing about spaces that I've been thinking about. A lot of amazing projects are shared, but they are shared in this call. And yes, these are recorded, and you know, if you want it, you can revisit it. But maybe we can create kind of like a wall where we collect everything that the community is building. So if you missed that call, what was that link? Like I've been searching for projects that I saw shared by the community, and I'll be honest, sometimes it's hard to find those. So maybe creating a space where everybody can submit it. I know on Discord, we, for example, have a channel for open source projects or community projects, but making something visual and that it's online and helps
I'll take that as an action.
Showcase work.
Yeah, I'll go through the history of shared repos and add that as part of the open source committee. We can, at the very least, we have a list of repos that's open. We've also been talking about tiers of inclusion in the foundation levels of sort of certification with OIA and other types of tiers within that list. But I think it's a very reasonable ask that we at least collect the residue of links and repos that have been shared over time. So I can do that.
Awesome. Maybe even connected with Stu's explainer. So everybody even like everything is explained, and it's I'm a guy who is, my background is in search and find. One of my projects that I'm building is, you know, I start a lot of repos, but finding those is so hard because GitHub search is it's a hot mess. It's a burning dumpster fire. So no, I don't want to add extra work on top of it for you. I don't want to give you work, but I would be really happy to. I've been working on a small project that is helping me search within the hundreds of starred repos that I start for myself and find what I'm looking for and track changes and updates in those. So if that wall is happening, like ping me and I'll do a PR for it that helps search within the community projects if there is an interest.
And Nick has shared the link to the Wednesday meeting for the open source committee. If anybody'd like to join, it's open. And you know, that might be a good place to talk through if there are things that you've done that you'd like to share more widely.
Do we, by the way, have another thing to add in around places? There are so many calls happening. Sometimes those are like committee calls. Sometimes those are different groups having their ongoing calls. Maybe just a calendar that showcases.
There's a public calendar. If somebody can get the link to the public calendar, because they should all be in there.
Yeah, Matt manages that, I think.
It's on the website.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. We need to redo our website. We're working on some fine tuning, maybe make it a little easier. Yeah, a little easier to navigate.
Come a long way though.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, hey, you guys want to hear my my Rush story?
Always.
All right, so I totally off topic, but I'm wearing a Rush shirt, or a Rush shirt, so I have to. So, I know them. So I live in Oakville, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. It's a suburb or whatever. And essentially, I know the mayor, or not the mayor. He's like a city councilor, and he has like a local entertainment establishment, a movie theater, that kind of thing. And so we get to know each other, and he's friends with a guy named Geddy Lee, who's the lead singer of Rush, who happens to also live in Oakville. And they cook up this scheme to basically sell off their sort of back catalog of various stuff. They've got this studio and a warehouse here in Oakville filled with like 50 years of Rush stuff that they've collected. It's amazing to go in there. So he's like, oh, you should talk to Rube. He can create an NFT of all your various Rush paraphernalia. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So anyway, Getty and the crew invite me to get a tour of their whatever this is, a warehouse basically, full of just random stuff from wherever they got it. And they're like, hey, we're going to take each one of these things and we're going to create a unique, token BS something out of it. Needless to say, the token thing never happened, but I got to meet the band. I got this signed book. It's like this, I guess it's a coffee table book. It's really thick with crazy art in it, and it sits in my on my coffee table. So that's my Rush story, and they're basically from Oakville, Ontario. At least Getty is, I guess. And yes, their drummer passed away, I think, about a year ago. So that's
always
yeah. Yeah, that's all I got.
Rob, quick question. Anne had a suggestion because Ruv, you had asked, what should we build next? And she said, a lot of us are trying to do consulting businesses, and it'd be great to get some tools to help folks attract and find clients that are different.
Yes.
Than...
So I don't know if Chris is on the line, but as you probably are aware, I get an astronomical amount of people reaching out and saying, can we work with you or someone or whatever? And it's been difficult to sort of farm that out. Chris has come up with a whole structure and to basically create a kind of consulting network of folks who essentially know how to use the tools that are generating the opportunities for us, at least for me and Cognitum. So if you're interested in that, he's got a whole system that'll help market, find, and get you those opportunities. I think Nick might have been working on it. I haven't been directly involved. I'm the guy they lock into the cellar and tell to invent stuff. But they definitely have a plan, and it sounds like it might be useful for anyone looking to find opportunities based on your abilities. Now, the other thing I'm going to point out, the Agentics hire site that Matt and Chris and Ocean are working on is also intended to sort of help facilitate that a little bit. So you'll notice that if you go to that, there's this kind of this idea, one, like I don't necessarily want to fully automate my job posting or application. You don't want a bunch of bots talking to a bunch of bots. So, but we're also cognizant that it's a lot of work to manage the process of finding and getting jobs and proving that you're capable to do those jobs. So what we've cooked up is essentially this idea of a AI augmented human of sorts, and a way to measure your capability, like in like looking at Stu as an example. How do we measure Stu's capability as an AI augmented employee? Well, we can tell based on the things he's presented today. He can do the work of many without question, as long as it's in the right areas. So in the case of Stu, he may not be ideal for being the CTO or someone that in that track, but when it comes to like product or marketing, positioning, and the ability to go from concept to execution based on like what the people actually want and need, a kind of design thinking orientation. Perfect. How do you measure that? Well, you measure it through his code, the things he puts out there, the ability for our system to go and do an audit of those things using that same number that you were showing earlier. Like what, based on this benchmark, this is the quality of that thing that he's put out. That becomes not a benchmark as necessarily for like an agent by itself, and a benchmark for Stu with an agent. That's what I'm thinking.
One additional thing to add, and in a future call, I'm happy to present it. A couple of months ago, I was at this event organized by this global network and community called Founders Live, and the gig over there, each event is 5 people are presenting, and you have 99 seconds to pitch. And they did an event the first time where it was sort of hackathon, and I was in the first group running this, where we had 2 hours to build something. So what I built was it's a product called Pitch 99, because I have a background in sales. I did go to market and sales ops for a decade. When building is easy, selling is hard, and go to market is the last hard thing left. And this little tool interviews you, ingests everything about your product, what it's publicly available, does a market intelligence research, opportunity finding, creates your ICPs, your ideal customer personas, and creates additional market research and a small pitch that you can pitch your product in 99 seconds. If there is interest in that, I'm happy to present that. And the bare bones version of it is open source on my GitHub. Go and check it out, but it needs some work. That's why I'm not willing to present it right now, but go up my GitHub page and you'll find Pitch 99 over there.
Can you share the link, Adam? Can you share the link?
Give me 1 second, and I'll show it in, and I'll promise to do some work on it in the upcoming days, and maybe present it sometime in the future if there is interest.
Thank you.
All right. Well, nice. I love these philosophical days we have sometimes. Yeah. So what should we build next? I'm still intrigued by the concepts of the structure of the quantum systems that we've been devising. There's got to be ways to sort of apply that in interesting opportunities. And by the way, the reason, back to the manifestation concept we were describing earlier, a lot of what I did about 12 months ago was this 50-year reverse engineering process that I was going through, where I would say, what's the future look like in increments of 10 up to 50 years from now? And then I would sort of interconnect those sort of things, one thing leading to the next, and then I'd say, how can I build that thing that exists sometime in the future using technology that's available to me today? And so a lot of the stuff that you're seeing is that process sort of unfolding. But what's interesting about that process unfolding is, I don't know what my batting average is, but it's pretty high based on this kind of reverse engineering of a perceived future and how I can manifest or create that future and make it happen. And that, I think, is also why it's important for us to focus on those like altruistic things. Like if we want the medicine and the health and those things that make the world a better place to actually happen, it may just be trying to make those things happen. I don't know.
Maybe.
No, that's a really good point. Like, as Musk says, like you got to pull the future forward. It doesn't just happen.
He certainly sort of is the embodiment of that concept. Yeah. I don't think most people would want to start a space company, a car company, and 1,000 others. Unless they had a master plan to go to Mars or something. All right. If I feel like we're coming to a natural conclusion, I'm gonna go head to the beach and see what the kids are doing. If there's any last things, we are getting together at the end of or middle of September in Ontario for this sort of thing on a lake, chilling and exploring the unexplored areas of AI and Agentics together. Our last one was in Vermont, which was amazing. We've got a really good crew that has been assembled, including some pretty heavy hitters from large companies and everyone in between. So we would love to have you come. What's the site again? I should know this.
Press.ca is the
retreat. Yeah, retreat.agentics.org.
That's right.
And I'll pop that in there.
Ruben, I can close us out with a theme song if you like.
Yes, go for it.
Hang on,
perfect.
let me see if I can share the screen. Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So what I did when you mentioned, I think you said one night in something, Budapest. Yeah, Budapest. So it reminded me of the song One Night in Bangkok. So what I did is ChatGPT repurposed the lyrics for take Bangkok out, put Budapest in. Use a Claude skill that I got for Suno. Got the prompt for Suno on the left side, put it in the Suno, repurpose lyrics, and I'll just play it into the part that it says you guys' name here. So it'll probably be about a minute. I'll just play it for a minute. Hopefully. Okay. Can you hear that? Let's see. Hang on.
Can't hear.
You gotta share with audio. I think share with sound is the option you click on. No. Unshare and share again, but click the share with sound.
Okay. All right. So I thought I did that. Wow. Yeah. So I repurpose the lyrics and put it around and just basically one night in Bangkok. But okay, there it goes. All right. There it goes. All right.
Yeah, the audio always takes a couple tries. Oh, are you sharing? I lost all audio altogether. Can you guys hear anything?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't hear Matt.
No.
Here, send me the link. Send me a link. I'll take a stab at sharing it. Just share the audio file. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we heard it.
Budapest lights, Danube reflecting in the city. Don't know what the city is getting. The creme of the code world rolls in together. Craft on the badge and a storm in the weather. Time bends, doesn't feel like a minute since the first cloud cruise put the future in it. All changed, don't you know, when the agents assemble. No ordinary stage, no ordinary temple. It's Austin, Toronto, London, or this place. One night in Budapest and the agents awaken. The bridges are glowing but the build ain't free. You'll find a spark, every old foundation. And if you're watching you can see what we see. I can feel the system learning next to me. One town feels like another when your head's deep in prompts and primitives, brother. It's a sprint, it's a war. It's really such a pity to stare at the screen and not look at the city. What do you mean? You saw one crowded conference hall. Rough Dragon, RuvNet, agents moving fast and the stack moves slick. Craft bound, talking to builders whose every move cuts cleaner than filters. We get our kicks where the workflows climb. One night in Budapest makes the heart.
That was outstanding, man.
Yeah, you gotta send me that. You gotta send me.
I'll do it. I'll send it.
Let's make a music video. I'm going to. One last thing. Last weekend was Slop Fest, and oh my God, Slop, the AI. I had 2.5 million views last weekend just posting dumb, mindless slop in this on Reddit and LinkedIn just to see what would happen. I'll tell you what happened. It blew up. It was so slop sells, I guess. Not sure what to tell you other than the obvious. The LinkedIn algorithm is hyper optimized for bullshit and slop.
Every social media algorithm is for that.
Yeah.
If you look at the, for example, top 10 engagement posts on Facebook, 7 out of 10 are obviously that, like, not faking it. It's obviously AI slop, but still trends. That I don't understand how, when humans allegedly hate it. And also, if somebody wants to see us actually dancing in Budapest, I dropped in a 23-second clip from that night there.
Play it. You share it. I'm gonna regret this.
What could possibly go wrong?
Let's see it. Let's see. Okay, I'll stick around. I'll stick around for the me dancing. Hopefully, I didn't know if we were being recorded.
I actually need to type.
You're always being recorded. Like, I just talked about this earlier. I thought.
Yeah, by Adam.
Everybody, all the time. It's crazy. More than one angle.
Oh, there's Melissa. This was open mic night. Oh yeah, it wasn't that bad.
There is
great.
More. There is more, but let's keep what happens in Budapest stays in Budapest.
No, you got to send that to Matt so he can actually build the video out of
next
that.
year together.
Yeah. Just send that to Matt. He'll put that in Kling AI, and then we'll have the music video for one night in Budapest.
All right, music video, Matt. We need a music video.
There you go. The links
it's in the chat. If you scroll up, I put that link, that exact clip into the chat. That if you want more, just ping me on WhatsApp and I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
And Matt, send me your audio as well. I definitely need that.
I put it in the chat. It's right there. Yeah. I'll put it in WhatsApp too. But...
And then everybody come to the Muskokas in September so that we can make the second version.
Yeah, I'm good at a lot of things. Dancing may not be at the top of the list, but try. Well, appreciate it. Appreciate everyone and the time you spend with us on. I guess this is it. We'll see you guys next week. We've got a number of these every day. You know, there's a go on the calendar. You can hang out with us whenever you feel like it. All right.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th to those who celebrate.
Happy 4th, everyone.
Happy Canada Day.
Till next week. Dance again.
Take care.
We dance again.